Hi everyone, it's Kathy. Thanks so much for joining me. Today we're featuring the March 2018 Paper Pumpkin Kit, and I have the final alternate card project to share with you, and I really like how it turned out. All right, we're going to get started with today's card. Here's a look of the finished card. Really like how it turned out. Super easy to do, guys. Okay, I have the flower stamp, and I have black memento ink, and this white panel here, which I just smudged from opening the ink pad. So I'm just going to twirl it around. I think when I stamp out the cluster, it'll cover it up. And then I also created two masks. So I stamped on a Post-it note and then I just fussy cut it out. I only did the two, but if you find it a little difficult with the two, you can create a third one, but I managed. So I'm masking off the flowers as I stamp. I have the two flowers masked off, and then I'm going to stamp around it while I create the cluster. And then I'm just going to keep moving these masks while I build this cluster. Any white sections that you've left out, we'll just stamp the leaf in those areas. So I have a leaf that I want at the end of this cluster, and then I'm going to do the same on the left side of this cluster. And I masked off the two flowers at the bottom right corner, and then we'll stamp the leaf in that space there. And we'll also stamp a couple of leaves on the inside part of that cluster. And now we're going to twirl the card, and we're going to create another cluster on the opposite corner. And this cluster isn't as large because I did hold it back just a little bit so that it doesn't get too large. All right, and then once you're happy with that, we're going to start coloring. I did start off with Melon Mambo, and then I brought in the aqua brush, but for some weird reason the pigment wasn't moving. So then I realized this paper it looks and feels like watercolor paper, but it's actually for chalk. So I brought in the pink pirouette and did my best to blend in the Melon Mambo, which it did a pretty good job, but at the end there, the flower just wasn't bright enough for me. It's a little bit on the dull side. So we're going with plan B, and I pulled out watercolor paper this time, and I stamped the flower and then gold embossed it. And the color we're going to start off again is Melon Mambo. So I'm just laying a little bit on the inside part of each petal and then blend it out with the aqua brush. And I do swipe off once I get too much pigment on my brush. Once I was done the first layer, it looks all right, but I think it needs a little bit more dimension. So we're going to add some dark highlights in the center parts of each petal. I'm going to add another layer of Melon Mambo to each of the petals just to get them to pop out and look a little bit more dimensional. But once I was finished doing that, it wasn't quite dark enough yet, so I just dried it quickly, and then I'm going to bring in rose red, and we'll just color it in the same way and just lightly blend it in with the aqua brush. And now that we've done that, it looks so much nicer, a lot more dimensional too. And I'm adding some Daffodil Delight to the center parts of each of the flowers, just in case there's some white spaces in those areas. And now we're ready to fussy cut out the flowers, and I'm only going to cut out two. I did cut up right to the edge, and then I also stamped out 4 of the leaves, and I also gold embossed those and colored them in with Garden Green and Lemon Lime Twist. And now for the sentiment, I created the Thank and the For Your Kindness from the Daisy Delight stamp set. So I just stamped out the Thank and then fussy cut it out, and the For Your Kindness, I stamped it on black cardstock and then white embossed it. And the U word is from the Celebrate You Thinlet set from the Celebration catalog that just finished. And the flower panel, I mounted it onto a berry burst panel and left a 1/8 inch border. And now we're ready to assemble the card. I have a dimensional on each one of those flowers, and I just lined it up to the image and then stuck that down. and then we'll glue down the leaves on each side of the flower. All right, we're ready to stick down these sentiments, and I'm going to start off with the U word, and I pulled out my T ruler. We're just going to make sure that it's straight and centered on the panel first, and then we can stick down the thank word and then the for your kindness sentiment. All right, and then to finish off the card, I'm going to mount it onto a top folding card base. Well, that's it for this card. I really like how the background turned out, and then with the added bling of color, super pretty. I hope you'll give this card a try. Thank you so much for joining me today. Until next time, bye for now.